Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Forever Game Podcast. On this episode, we talk about change. How do you do with change? Is it something that you avoid? Is it something that you seek out? It kind of depends on your personality. Regardless of that, there are 6 steps that are pretty concrete when it comes to change and instigating sustainable change in your life. In this episode, Jamie and I walk through a couple of big changes in our lives and where we are on that cycle and where we hope to be sometime. Hope you enjoy.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Forever Game Podcast. I am here today with Tyler, virtually, of course, and I am in Montevideo, Minnesota, recording on my end from the brewery. So, Tyler, you lose out on this scenario.
I'm in the basement. I have a beer fridge of beer that I can drink without stealing it. I have a TV, I have a couch, all sorts of things.
I have a feeling your fridge is fully stocked.
This weekend was it needs to be stocked.
A continual cycle.
We had a Zoom poker night with the college boys, and so this many growlers disappeared from my fridge.
Wow, impressive.
Yeah, it was bad.
Zoom poker is a thing?
Well, download this, for everyone listening, you download this app on your phone. It's Poker, Pokerrr 2. Poker with 3 R's 2. And you can start a private room, and then you invite your friends, and then you talk over Zoom, and then you're playing. And it's like dealing, and you're betting, and it's fun.
I like that.
So you can do that if you need to, like, get the dudes that are listening. You can easily do that. But today we're talking about the stages of change.
You couldn't help but steal the spotlight.
I can't help but just like get us on track.
I can't introduce an episode. Okay.
Tell us about the stages of change, Amy.
Tyler, why you picked this topic? Why did you pick this topic?
I picked it because I think that I've never researched it before, but I figured that must have been a thing. So I Googled it, and I was like, oh, there are very determined stages of change. And when I read through them, I found it useful because it helped me identify where I am and kind of what the next step is, and how you can be most successful in maintaining your change when you, like, the change you're seeking to make. How do you make sure it's final, you don't relapse, and you kind of, I think there's value and comfort in identifying where you are in a cycle.
For sure. I was just going to say, I really like tools like this that kind of put things in perspective, because it's so, when you're close to things and we're constantly making decisions, whether they're like, big, small, medium, wherever they fall.
Yep.
It's easy to lose perspective. And I'm a very visual person. So I like to be able to see on the map where I'm at, where I'm going, if I'm making progress, you know what I mean?
Yep, totally. So how we're going to relate this and share these stages of change with you all is that we're going to bring up a couple of large areas of change in our lives recently, and we're still going through them, and kind of relate the different stages to how we actually experienced that change.
Yep.
So step number 1. So
there's 6 of them. There's 6 phases in this.
6 phases. And what's the
change
you're going to use as this example to explore these stages?
Well, I'm thinking mine will be a little bit more personal, and it'll be this building of a house, a big life change that's currently taking place in my life.
Because let's just be clear with all of the listeners, and Micah, I'm mostly talking to you.
Phone a friend. Oh, Micah.
She's anti-commitment, which is fine. Not anti-commitment, just very fearful of commitment. Is that fair?
It's fair. It's fair.
You don't like entrapment. Commitment feels like entrapment to you.
Yep.
And so the building of a house is like, it ain't going anywhere. Like, unless a tornado comes and wipes it out and you guys get a check for insurance money, which you'll sort of be like, oh, he, and like, wasn't really excited about my commitment to those floors anyway. But right, and I can imagine going through and building a house, like you pick something, it's going in.
Yep. Yeah.
That's got to be tough for Jamie.
But it's been a little easier. It's helped me, I think. It's forced me to feel better and more confident in the decisions I'm making, or just say, F it, and it is what it is. Sometimes you have to make mistakes to learn what you want and where you want to go. So whatever.
So, but that is a big change for you. That's my whole point, is like building a house, something 100%. That's a big commitment that's going to be around for the next 100 years. Like that's a big Jamie commitment and big change.
What's a big Tyler commitment that you're going to use?
I feel like change is a constant state for me. But the biggest one for me, obviously, is leaving my job of 12 years at the school. Because I've been there since I've been 25, 23 or whatever. And that's my only professional job. It's the only like professional interview I've ever done. And semi-professional. And that's now going away. So anyway, let's jump into it. So the first stage is pre-contemplation. The definition of this is not yet considering change or is unwilling or unable to change. So, but what happens is you kind of have like a raising of awareness of there being something to change. So, how long do you think you and Micah were living in that place without contemplating change at all?
Oh, without contemplating?
Yeah, without contemplating.
I would say I'm the first, so I moved to Willmar. When I first moved to Willmar, I would say and moved into the apartment that we were living in. I would say 2 years. 2 years. But that was because of another variable, which was I was paying off my student loans. And so like we had this very intentional effort financially to get rid of all my debt. And so when you're in that stage, when you're in that frame of mind, you're not thinking like, I wasn't considering, I was just like, this is a really good opportunity for me now to focus on this goal. And I don't know where we're going to go after this, but I'm not even thinking about it. So
yeah. So you guys lived together or you're in that place of living for 2 years and weren't not even contemplating it.
Yeah, we were not.
At the school, 12 years. I would say it was probably 6 years that I was not contemplating leaving. As soon as I got that CEO job and I realized that there was a whole big world out there.
Yeah. That
was so much easier for me. Like all of a sudden, it wasn't about managing micro deadlines and like doing all of this kind of menial tasks that are around teaching. And I was like, oh, this fits me so more instantly. So it was 6 years for me when I was in it, not thinking about it, and then finally got thrust into stage 2, which is contemplation. Sees the possibility of change, but is ambivalent and uncertain. So you're not really like, you are understanding that change could be an option, but there's no real thought towards developing a plan.
Yep.
When did you guys first talk? I want to hear about this conversation. Who first mentioned between you two, we should build a house?
I'm going to back up. Prior to the house talk, like,
yeah. Well,
once I was kind of like debt free, so to speak, then you start contemplating a lot of different things. So I contemplated like, another big change, which would have been like taking another job, moving to a different state.
Yep.
It was mainly like, where do I want to live now? Because I feel like I have the freedom to choose some different paths or go down and explore things. And so like the house idea wasn't quite like the house that we're in now or going to be in now wasn't quite what we talked about. It was like more of a path of, okay, are we going to stay in this area? And if so, then what does that look like? And we landed there, well, for a lot of different reasons, but mainly because I got rejected from the jobs that I applied to. No, just kidding. But
You apply to a bunch of jobs like outstate?
yeah, I applied for a couple jobs in Minneapolis. I applied for a job in California. And then, yeah, those roads didn't really pan out.
What kind of jobs were they?
So the one in the cities, well, one was at a marketing agency in the cities. One was at a growler magazine. So like a publication that's focused on beer, craft culture, that kind of stuff. And then I was just telling the guys at the brewery about this last week, but I applied to be the manager of an RV park in Paso Robles, California. And it was in wine country, of all things. And I just had this urge to move to California, which doesn't really go away. But my sister randomly connected me to this lady she knew that was hiring for the position. And it was this beautiful RV park. So, like, you picture the worst thing when I say this, but it was gorgeous. They were building it from the ground up. And the people that, stay in those spots are wealthy travelers, appreciate really good wine. Tyler, you would have loved it.
That sounds like more of a Tyler job than a Jamie job, let's be honest.
But anyways, so that's what I'm saying. Like, we were contemplating a lot of different things, but contemplating change in general. And then, I don't know, I kind of sort of fell into a new work environment that I could see myself being happy in it. And so then once we decided we were staying in the area, I was like, well, I want to live on the water.
Yep.
So that's
when you first started. How long was that? 2 years ago?
Yeah. Well, I probably started thinking about what was possible 3 years ago. And then, yeah, the actual let's go meet with somebody started about, oh gosh, it's hard now. It hasn't been that long, probably 2 years, less than 2 years. And so what am I talking about?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to keep this thing together here. Okay.
The possibility of change, but is ambivalent and uncertain. So yeah, we kind of thought, you know what? I think we're going to explore the idea of building a house. And so that was 2 years ago. And we weren't 100% sure. We just wanted to figure out some costs and what would potentially fall in that if we were to make that decision.
Right.
And so that contemplation stage kind of lasted a long time.
I think it definitely does. And I think that a lot of people get stuck in that contemplation stage. And they are so many variables, whether it's, they can't leave their job or they can't make that change because of financial reasons, because of confidence, because of fear of failure, whatever. And you guys basically eliminated all the downside by paying off all of your debt. So there was no downside. Change was now seen as something that didn't have a downside, so it was more exciting probably. Right.
But what about, so let's flip to you now.
That's your segue? You just go, let's flip to you, Tyler, go.
Start talking. No, what did your contemplation phase look like? Because I feel like it's very different to mine.
I don't know if it was all that different, to be honest. I tried all sorts of crazy shit. And need we bring up some of these random businesses that I started and stopped? No, we don't need to. But
I think that's in the next phase, actually.
So? Yeah, maybe you're right. The contemplation stage for me, when it comes to just being uncertain but realizing change is a possibility, was almost immediate after I started the CEO job, almost the first meeting. And just because I connected with so many people and public speaking or networking with people, however you want to say it, was something that I never really realized I had practiced so much with teaching, and something that I enjoyed so much. And then also being in an opportunity to learn about how to like build something from nothing was then becoming a pattern for me, because the iPad project of a couple of years before that, building something from nothing, was the first time I'd ever tried that in a large scale.
Yeah.
And then doing it again and helping do it again with the CEO thing just made me see that, oh, apparently I like doing this. I wonder if there are other opportunities to do this, or what's that lifestyle like? And maybe I would like to do that.
Do you feel like, I feel like you're the type of person that gets excited or like addicted to change, in a sense, like building new things.
100%.
So once you started tasting it, you were like, well, maybe I can, maybe there's other things out there.
And I just realized that my natural skills and talents lend me to do better in that environment than environment that's corporate, where your job is more like managing failure, like preventing failure on micro scales, and like incremental growth, but just very, very steady for long periods of time. That is not what I do well. I like work in waves of like huge productivity and creativity, and just lends more towards building something.
Okay, so step 3 of this process.
Step 3, determination.
Good stage.
You're committing to changing, still considering what to do, but committing to changing. This for me was definitely starting all those random, ridiculous business ideas.
Really quickly though, you got to just share what you tried.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Okay. First, it was very much related to this curriculum development, this development of a digital curriculum. Does that seem like it's applicable today? For school districts, and having teachers develop their own kind of collaboratively and even inter-district collaboration of like digital curriculum, because schools typically would spend $125,000 just to outfit textbooks for their high school history department or their high school math department, sometimes more. And the whole plan in business was, we have a system set up where we're going to take a group of teachers that are all in math, the high school math teachers, and have them develop curriculum for all of the classes instead of buying textbooks, and it's going to cost you a third of the money. And I went and talked in front of superintendents. I went and tried to pitch all these people, and it was horrible. I was not good. They didn't care. It was so different and out there that they were not interested.
Okay, but business 1, that was business 1.
Yep.
2.
Business 2? Business 2. Was it the screen fixing thing?
Yep.
Okay. I just started.
Technology repair service company.
Yep. Hated that. Hated every single second of it.
3.
Was there a 3?
I think it's this one.
Oh, well, I did start going and like helping other communities.
Yeah.
Like CEO classes.
Yep. Sort of consulting with helping other communities build CEO-like programs. Yep. Okay, I forgot about that one. That's true. Still kind of doing that.
Doing it. And then
and 4 is
1017, the marketing agency.
What we now know and love is 1017.
That's right. Yeah, just a household name, at least in my household.
Okay, let's get back to this thing.
So you guys are determined that you're going to move. How did you guys decide to build?
I'm determined. I wouldn't say Micah was determined.
Oh, that's right. I remember you saying, he's like, what's your deal? I'm very comfortable.
I'm perfectly comfortable here.
Yep.
Like, I am not. I need something
want
different.
To be able to like look out your back window or look out a window with a coffee or a beer or something and just see relaxing things.
100%. If like I picked where I'm living, which is 100% in my control, but I want to make the ultimate experience here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like best case scenario living. But luckily, a few like things came up where we had this family property that Micah's grandma was looking to get rid of, and so it's a really good price for this particular lake property. And so all of a sudden, I was like, "Well, Micah, remember we were talking about how we wanted to look for local lake properties?
Yep.
What if?" And so that's how I kind of kickstarted the whole thing. And when we, dove down the rabbit hole of figuring out pricing and building, and then Mike is a big researcher, so I was like, you got to make this, list of all of the lake properties in the area that are also like could be on our radar. Start looking at those prices. I'm breaking it down like in ways that he's very black and white.
Sure.
Start looking at buying, renovating, because we're going to have to renovate some stuff.
Yep.
That cost breakdown versus building, and then let's see where that lands. So I feel like that's further down this change cycle of, okay, we're committed to doing something new and
you guys were definitely
stepping up our house game, but what does that look like?
Right. You guys were into number 4, which is action, taking steps towards change, but hasn't stabilized in the process of change. You guys hadn't decided what you were going to do, but you were taking steps to figure out what you wanted to do.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
these bleed together so much.
They do.
And you can quickly move from one to the next, but also it can be a long, drawn out process.
Well, and I think the point of it is you're in a position to change. So, but then you try 7 different paths to figure out what's the path that actually leads to the change I'm interested in sustaining.
Yeah.
So you try out a lot of them, and you guys did that. And I did that, and finally picked one that makes us both, we feel like is the greatest chance of being happy and building a happier life forward.
Yeah.
And number 4 is pretty simple. You start making steps towards building the change, actually doing it. And that was you guys researching options, deciding kind of on an option. And then that was me building the company so that I could actually make a change. And then that goes into number 5, which is maintenance.
But you've been in this, you said you're currently in the action phase.
Oh, totally.
And how long have you been in it?
Probably 24 months. 24, 36 months, probably.
Does it feel like it's been that long?
It doesn't feel that long.
I didn't think so either, but I wasn't sure what you were going to say.
It doesn't feel that long to me. But I think I'm in 4 or 5, like determined to like have more of a path laid out, at least for the next 5 years, and then trying to make that path sustainable. So that's stage 5, which is maintenance. And you've achieved the goals of change, and you're working to maintain the change. So you're not you're not stabilized yet, but you have a pretty good idea of how to do that. And that's stressful. Like from 3, determination, to action, to maintenance, that's like where all the rubber hits the road.
The hardest part of the circle of change. Yeah.
Pre-contemplation, obviously, you're ignorant of needing to be able to change, but so many people get addicted to stage 2, which is contemplation, and just like coming up with these fun ideas because it's fun. And what if, which is fine and healthy. But then when it comes to actually picking something, they're so afraid of picking the wrong thing. They don't try anything.
I know.
So they never get to action or something that could even be close to becoming sustainable change. But now you guys are building your house. Like the house is almost done. You're now living with the in-laws until you can move in with the house. How's that maintenance going?
The maintenance? It's actually going a lot better than I expected.
But there's only one downside.
What?
What's the access?
Oh, major downside. That's why I've had to make other, working scenarios possible. But actually easier than expected. They're super easygoing and really good hosts. So
I'm sure. And you got
But
a
it's
birthday
also
coming
short.
up.
Yeah.
You should go home and like go home because I'm saying this is now your home and be like, Mom, what are we doing for my birthday tomorrow?
I'm expecting that they're planning that today while I'm not there.
They better be, or you're leaving.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
easier to know that it's a short window, you know.
Right.
We can foresee the next step. It's not that far off, so that makes it all easier.
Angie and I have actually thrown around the idea. We know that living with her parents is a real possibility if we were to build and or buy a house, because we would want to sell ours first. We don't want to be like stuck in this sort of like double mortgage or
Yes.
making an offer on a place that we love, but we haven't even like sold our house yet. We really want to, even though it's a little bit risky, but her parents have a place on Diamond Lake that they can fully live in. They have a 6-bedroom house in Wilmer that we could definitely cohabitate if we wanted to. But that wouldn't necessarily be the best option with 3 kids. But we got a plan in case we want to do that. And the last stage after maintenance is recurrence. So experienced a recurrence of the symptoms. So you're like questioning your decision, even though you're kind of down the path. It could be buyer's remorse. It could be like the winner's curse. I've heard all these sorts of different names for it. But with regards to our like stages of change or our changes, career and living, were there ever like little panicky moments you had while you were in the planning stage?
100%.
Like, oh my God, I don't know if I should do this. We should go back.
Lots of them. I think Mike is still having them on the daily. In mine, less frequent, but definitely still there. Definitely. I mean, like in any sort of change, you get the panicky, like, I think it's healthy. If you're not worried about, am I making the right decision? You're not making like a bold enough change.
And you're human. You're not a machine. You can't just do the math and go, this is correct and not look back.
Yeah. We have no clue, really. I mean, if we're making the right decision, it seems like the right decision right now, and we're excited about it, but you just don't know until you try.
Yep.
Which I'm all about. Like, you and I both have this thing, Tyler, where we get annoyed of people that just talk in circles about what they're going to do and, like, contemplate what if, but then never.
Which was me, by the way. I was that way.
You're annoyed of yourself?
Totally. I look back at like fully haired Tyler and I'm so annoyed by him.
But so then how did you change?
I don't know. I think I don't want to bring it back.
Still equated to your hair loss?
Totally. It was a pivotal moment in going from someone of bluster and exaggeration to someone that's like, oh shit. Well, all of that facade is gone. And what am I really going to do now? Because also you feel old. You don't realize this, but when you lose your hair, you instantly look older. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm old now. What have I done? What am I going to do? And so it seems silly and superficial, but it was a lot deeper than that. And so I was like, well,
major self-reflection point.
100%. You can no longer fool yourself into thinking your 18-year-old self with all of this huge time and whatever in front of you to just fake it, do it, get by week to week. And so, yeah,
I do think so. At least you somehow found the courage to try something. And then the act of trying made you, like I said, get addicted to it in some sense. And then you started trying more things. Like,
yep.
Isn't that essentially how it works? You get more, I don't want to say risky, but.
Well, you learn some skills about starting something new and trying to grow it or build it is just like the Olympics of self-reflection. Am I good enough? What do I need to get better at? You need to be objective. You need to hold the success of your project above your own pride. So it means you have to really look at yourself and say, what am I failing at? How do I get better at that? Or how do I hire someone better than me at it? Yeah. And so that to me was, once I got to that stage of letting all of that like young pride go, all I cared about was moving forward. And I didn't care I went from someone that cared so much about what everyone thought to not giving a but sometimes you like fall back into it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's natural.
Relapse.
Yeah, you relapse with that like give a shit-o-meter. And it before you realize it's dictating your behavior, it has. And then you realize it and you're like, oh, that's right. That's why I'm doing that.
Yeah.
You need to come back from that. And so, yeah, that's what happened to me. And for you guys, once the house is being built, it's not like a business. Well, it is kind of like a business. You could just, when it's done and you're nervous about the debt, you could just like sell it and move on if you really wanted to. You could get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever talked about that?
There is always an out. Yes. I brought that up from the get-go because I'm the one that is always ready, trying to find one escape hole.
You're like those special agents that walk into a room and they're like, what are the points of entry and exit in here?
Yes.
I am not willing to engage in a conversation about possibly staying in this room until I know how I can get out.
Yes. So I think for me, that's like, it's comforting in a sense. I mean, that's totally the worst case scenario that we made this huge change and then all of a sudden it wasn't the right decision. And then you have to figure out what your options are from there. But there is that, component to it.
It's ridiculous if people that say, and you hear motivational speakers say it, is if you have any doubts at all, you're going to fail, or you can't ever look back, or can't ever have a plan B. That's ridiculous, especially if you have responsibilities. Like now you guys have a responsibility to the contractor and owning this house and the bank and all those things. Mm-hmm. If you don't think about what would we do if all of the shit hit the fan? If you don't think about that, you're just not being responsible.
Right. All right.
How do you feel about all of that?
I'm feeling good about it. Once you see the house, you'll know why. No.
Oh, I've seen the house. So again, the stages for you out there are pre-contemplation, contemplation, determination, action, maintenance, and recurrence. And then it's a cycle. If you relapse, you can lose that. You can go back, just like I could freak out and go and get a job. But
would that be in stage 6, Tyler?
What's that?
Would you do that in stage 6?
Not in stage 6. Not after I'd built maintenance. It would only be.
It would be in 4.
Yeah, it would only be if all of a sudden, like everything went bad. That's what I would do. That's what I have to do, because I have responsibilities. So, yeah, I think that's cool. But we will obviously have all of this in the show notes, the steps, so you can take a look and see where you are and whatever change you're at, and maybe the next steps you need to take to help build and maintain that change.
Well, I
need to apply this to my diet and my workout.
100% you do.
Mm-hmm.
You should.
I think, though, that I need a new bike to do that.
That's not true.
You know those people that need to like ask us, like, well, I need a new camera, I need a new tripod, I need to get
lights.
Yep.
Before I start shooting videos.
That's how I'm approaching my working out, is I need a new bike to do that.
Yeah, you absolutely don't. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just maintain my contemplation and determination stage. Yeah. So I think whoever is out there is listening that's making a big decision, just figure out where you're at. Like, put yourself visually in the wheel of change. And then I think it helps you figure out, if you're actually making progress or not. Hey everybody, the Forever Game Podcast is written and produced by Jamie and myself with help from Jennifer, who also works with us. We are the 1017 Media team, and we love social media marketing. So I have a question for you. Do you love your social media marketing? If you're an individual or a business and you don't love it, let us help you. We would love to help. We would love to just give ideas. We would love to sit down and help you develop a plan that you can execute or that we can help you execute. The strategy is always free. We don't charge for that. If you need help with video, if you're interested in starting your own podcast or a vlog or a blog or developing any sort of consistent high quality content for social media, let us know. That's what we do, and we love doing it. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We are at 1017.media. You can also just head to our website and learn more. It's just 1017media.com. That's TEN17media.com. Stay safe. Take care. Peace.